Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learn back once again. In this YouTube NFL prediction segment, I'm going to be giving you my picks and analysis for Week 8 of the 2018 NFL season. Anyway, well, the first game, I'm going to take Houston at home, Houston Texans at home, over the Miami Dolphins. Houston is on a roll right now, in a little bit of a rampage. They've won 4 consecutive games. I think this is the team that many may have actually envisioned. You have J.J. Watt. Clowney is playing very well. They're playing exceptional. You have the receivers, the quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Everybody seems to be, the main players are proponents are playing exceptionally well right now. You have, with the Miami Dolphins, so they're kind of an up and down, erratic and sporadic team. The one thing in Miami's favor in this game may be perhaps at Houston, all 4 victories that they've had this season have been teams currently under 500. But Miami is ravaged with injuries. Wide receiver Kenny Stills likely going to be out, along with wide receiver Albert Wilson. This is a team that looks good at times, but you don't really know who's going to show up one week to the next. I think being on the road, I give the advantage to Houston right now, and given how Houston's been more consistent in recent weeks, I'm going to take the Texans at home. Well, next game, who would have thought we'd be looking at 2 teams the way they are right now? I mean, Jacksonville is at home against Philadelphia. I'm going to take the Eagles reluctantly on the road to defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars have lost 3 in a row. They've allowed around like 90 points in these 3 games. It's uncharacteristic of this defense. Jalen Ramsey is going to have to step up, going to be about less talking, which he seems like he's been doing lately, and more about playing on the field. You look at Philadelphia right now, drop 3 of 4. I mean, they have that win against the Giants, but virtually everybody, can beat the Giants at this stage of the game. I hate to say that being a New York Giants fan, but I do see that as just being veracious and truthful. Now, Philadelphia just looks slightly better than Jags. It's like the Jaguars, the way I'm looking at this game, Jaguars seem a little bit worse than Philadelphia right now. The Philadelphia Eagles may at least be able to play defense adequately. Jacksonville is not doing this. Blake Bortles, I don't know if he's playing this week or not, but if he is, I saw something on some ESPN blog or something about he's on a short leash right now. I don't understand really what's happened with him in this and just the team collectively in this defense. But right now, to me, it looks like Philadelphia should be able to get this victory, because it looks to me like Jacksonville's defense is just that hard right now and abhorrent. I think Philadelphia will score enough against it to win this game. I like the Eagles on the road. Well, next game, I'm going to take the Chicago Bears at home over the New York Jets. The defense for Chicago doesn't seem as relentless recently as it had been in previous weeks. But the way I see it, they still, are one of the best teams as far as defensive interceptions go. They're number 4 in rushing yards allowed per game. And Khalil Mack has obviously paid dividends to this team. They seem to be a much improved team. Whether they win or lose, they are competitive in their games. And you look at the New York Jets. Well, Jets last week, they're coming off a demoralizing loss at the hands of the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins. And the Jets have allowed a lot of points in their last 3 games. They allowed like 37 the previous one, and then the game before that against Indianapolis was like 34. This is a team that, is just not really, they're having difficulty stopping people right now. And to ask rookie quarterback Sam Darnold to go on the road and go against Chicago and the defense that I think will show up in this game, it's going to be a very daunting task. It's hard for me to go with the Jets in this one. They're going to play hard. They probably make it competitive, but I still like the Bears at home in this one. Next game, I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals at home over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think it's a good side. Cincinnati, not just being at home, but not a primetime game. They just completely were annihilated, obliterated last week. I thought they would have put up a better fight against the Kansas City Chiefs. I understand the Chiefs were at home and everything, and Chiefs are playing lights out, but still, there was just no reason to be playing that poorly. Andy Dalton, A.J. Green, I think, should be able to get it going in this particular matchup. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in town, and this could be the remedy they need for any current woes they may be experiencing as far as Cincinnati goes. The Bucks barely got by the Browns last week. They're allowing almost 33 points per game right now, and they are, in terms of their passing yards per game allowed, they are also really not. I don't believe they're doing very good in that department. Cincinnati, I think, is going to have a field day against that Tampa Bay secondary, and I do like Cincinnati at home in this one. Well, next game, I'm going to take the Detroit Lions at home to defeat the Seattle Seahawks. This should be a very tight game. These teams right now, both of them look pretty much mediocre. Detroit has lost 5 of their last 6 actually to Seattle, but at Detroit they have taken 3 or 4. They have been relatively successful against Detroit against the Seahawks in recent time. Being at home, I think Matt Stafford should have a fairly solid game. They're going against the Seattle Seahawks team, as I've said in previous videos, where they have their defense is basically dismantled. Earl Thomas may remain, but they are obviously not the same vaunted defense they had before when they had Richard Sherman. They're going to have to rely on quarterback Russell Wilson to use his legs very strongly in this one. Seattle, though, their defense has survived without really having the people they had last season and being diminished on defense. They only allowed 3 points last week. They're giving up 19.5 points per game, which is not what they're accustomed to previously, but the defense has still been adequate. It probably will make this game relatively close, I believe, but mainly Detroit, on virtue of them being at home, I do like this one. The fact that Detroit has been successful, relatively speaking, in recent time at Detroit against Seattle. So anyway, I'm going to take the Lions at home. Next game, I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs at home over the Denver Broncos. Well, not only what they have in common, of course, they're in the same division, but they also won their games, oddly enough, by identical scores last week. They both won 45-10. It's not shocking that Kansas City put up 45 points, but the Denver Broncos, where was all this offense earlier in the season? Kansas City's averaging about 37 points per game right now. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes, 22 touchdown passes, is playing lights out. They've had like 34 passes that were completed that were 20-plus yards this season. They're not afraid to air it out. The Denver defense is not really the vaunted defense is not what it used to be. Denver is 2-9 on the road since 2017, and they have lost 6 straight to Kansas City. Kansas City has dominated this series in recent time. They're also Denver, is just averaging about almost 24 points per game, as I stated before. Kansas City's averaging about 37. Denver, though, they do have the ability to get at the quarterback. They have 22 defensive sacks. That's, that's like, I believe, like the top 5 in the NFL right now. Von Miller, if he could lead this team and if he could have a good game and get some of these other backs to play well and get to Patrick Mahomes, they could make it close. But I still like Kansas City getting this job done at home. I think their offense is just going to be a little bit stronger than Denver's defense in this particular matchup. I think they're going to play well against that Denver secondary, and I do like Kansas City to get this done at home. So I like the Chiefs at home. Next game, I'm going to take the Washington Redskins to win on the road over the New York Giants. Washington right now, they're putting back-to-back wins together for the first time in some time. That actually could be a harbinger of things to come, I believe, for this team. It could be a very good sign. Last week, they just played a very good, complete game against the Dallas Cowboys. I understand it had a controversial ending, but you had the quarterback, Alex Smith, playing well. Even linebacker Ryan Kerrigan made a strip sack. He may not have been playing well prior to this game, but he did really make a very key play as far as against Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. Washington right now is almost surreptitiously gotten the #1 total defense ranking right now. I mean, I was really surprised when I saw that stat. They're allowing about 20 points per game. The New York Giants, well, they're obviously another story entirely. I mean, maybe it's not a good sign that running back Saquon Barkley was held under 100 yards from scrimmage for the first time this season. But it really doesn't matter because the Giants just simply have a propensity to lose every which way but loose, so to speak. And they've been held under 30 points for I don't know what the exact numbers are, but something like the last 37 out of the last 38 or 38 out of the last 39 games. I don't really expect them to get that many against Washington right now, the way their defense has been playing, being, again, the #1 ranked in terms of total yards defense in the NFL and giving up 20 points per game. And it's a defense that might actually be progressively getting better as the weeks go by. I don't know if they're going to be able to give quarterback Eli Manning much protection in this particular game. I like Washington to win this on the road. Hold on a minute, people. Sorry about that. I'm back. Anyway, next game, I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers at home to defeat the Cleveland Browns. Running back Le'Veon Bell, his status is uncertain whether he's coming back. That being said, their current running back, James Conner, is not, as Stephen A. Smith would say, not a scrub. He certainly is adequate. He's no Le'Veon Bell. He might not have that versatility that Bell has, or maybe quite as quick. But James Conner is getting the job done. He is averaging over 4 yards per carry. He can get I mean, that's really, I think at this point, a stage of the game, the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, I think what I've seen on TV with the different players being interviewed, as far as on the Steelers go, they just seem like it's not so much apathetic, but they're basically looking at the Le'Veon Bell situation like this. We'll do what we have to do, whether he's here or not. Of course, they would rather have Bell on the team. They definitely have a better chance of winning with Bell as opposed to not, but they're adaptable to him not being there if that's the case. Now, Pittsburgh, I mean, has obviously dominated the series in recent time against the Browns. They're undefeated against the Browns in the last 7 games. They won 6, and they had that one tie earlier this season. Now, the thing about it is, looking at Cleveland, I know the defense is people may see it as no joke, but the thing about Cleveland is, though, they're still giving up about 25 points per game. They have an opportunistic defense. I believe they're 20 takeaways, I believe, leads the NFL right now, and Myles Garrett has 7 sacks. The defense is not terrible, but really what it comes down to is ultimately is that those points allowed per game is the big stat, I believe, as far as defense goes. You could put up certain numbers and have this and that, but if you're still giving up a fairly good amount of points, it's still really not that good. And Cleveland, though they're improved overall, they have a little better offense than they may have had previously. Their defense still, I think, may let them down in this particular game. Cleveland, as far as giving points up anyway, now they might create some little havoc for the Steelers offense. They may get a turnover or two, but it's not going to be enough to win this game. I'm going to take Pittsburgh at home to win this one. Next game, I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers at home to defeat the Baltimore Ravens. I look at this game. This game is basically a toss-up. I'm mainly taking Carolina on virtue of them being at home. Carolina, though, showed something. They showed some resiliency and resolve in that game they had last week. They scored 21 points in that fourth quarter. They were down 17-0. It looked like it was all over for them. Cam Newton and Greg Olsen, it's obviously a very dangerous tight end quarterback combination. You always seem to have a chance when they're on the field. Carolina's 9-2 at home since 2017. Baltimore just mediocre, 6-6 on the road in that time. Baltimore had a very devastating, demoralizing loss last week, and that guy missed the point after attempt. He was 222 for the last 222, I believe, in terms of point after attempts, and he happened to miss that one. Kick looked like it was going right down the middle practically, and it just shifted all of a sudden at the last second, and he missed it. And thing about Baltimore is they have 27 defensive sacks. Their defense still is very tenacious, very good. They're also giving up just about 14 points per game. Their defense is going to keep this close. They'll keep them in this game. It should be competitive. But I think Carolina, the way the Western being at home, and the fact I think their offense is going to be a little bit better than Baltimore's defense in this particular game. I do like Carolina to get this one done at home, and coupled with the fact that Baltimore just isn't a great road team. So I like Carolina to win at home. Next game. Well, next game, I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts on the road to beat the Oakland Raiders. Indianapolis can just, they could actually score a little more than Oakland. Again, Indy has scored 71 points in the last 2 games, and they've scored at least 24 in the last 4. Andrew Luck, I do like him at quarterback better than Derek Carr of Oakland. I think he's going to likely have the better game. You look at Oakland, the only win they have this season is against the Cleveland Browns. Just 7 defensive sacks. They're going to have a very hard time, I believe, getting to quarterback Andrew Luck. I think he's going to have a lot of time to throw that ball. And the thing about you look at Oakland has only scored 13 points in the last 2 games, and their offense has just been lamentable lately. I just don't see. And they also, of course, they have the as John Gruden had stated, they just don't have much of a pass rush. They're going to have a difficult time getting to Andrew Luck and emerging victorious. I do like Indy to win this one on the road. Next game. I want to take the LA Rams to win at home over the Green Bay Packers. The LA Rams, of course, a flawless 7-0 right now. They're number 1 in rushing yards per game. They have played exceptionally well, undefeated at home, of course, this season. Running back Todd Gurley, I expect him to have a very good game. The Green Bay is just number 22 in the NFL in rushing yards allowed per game. Their defense is suspect. They've given up 62 points in the 2 road games they've played this season. Of course, that's 31 per game. Green Bay was like a 9-point underdog early when this line went out for this game, and just 3-7 on the road since 2017. It's really enough to say the Rams should get this job done and win this game. Green Bay is still a very good team, but they're not a great team, and it's mainly because their defense lets them down. You give Aaron Rodgers a defense, then you're talking about a team that could actually be a really strong upper echelon elite team, but they're just not quite there, and Rams are just, their personnel is just better than Green Bay's right now overall. And with Aaron Donald, one of the best defensive players in the league, it's going to be, this is going to be a tough game for Green Bay to go in there and win. I like the Rams to win this at home, taking the Rams at home in this one. Next game. I want to take the Arizona Cardinals, I call this the toilet bowl, Arizona Cardinals at home over the San Francisco 49ers. They defeated San Francisco earlier this season, and that was on the road. I think they should get this job done again at home. One of the few bright spots for the Cardinals is Budda Baker with 67 tackles. Right now, the combined record of these teams is 2-12. And they're really, you're looking at the Arizona Cardinals. They're allowing, like about 148 rushing yards per game. You're talking about a very abhorrent run defense. They are, looking at this, these 2 teams, obviously 2 of the worst teams in the NFL, but the 49ers are just, they're 0-4 on the road. They've lost 5 consecutive games. They are just supremely reeling right now. They're just 3-9 on the road since 2017. Arizona is really no great shakes at this time. I think it was Patrick Peterson. There's some reports saying that he wanted out. I believe he's a cornerback on the Arizona Cardinals. And I don't know if that, I don't think that's going to be that much of a distraction as far as this particular game goes. And it really doesn't matter since San Francisco is just that bad right now. Arizona being home should get this one. I like the Cardinals at home. Next game. I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings at home to beat the New Orleans Saints. You have with Minnesota, Minnesota has won 3 consecutive games. They seem like they're starting to play very cohesively and getting things together. The Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen combination is obviously very deadly. Wide receiver Adam Thielen has had 7 straight 100-yard plus receiving games. He is definitely for real. He's definitely one of the premier receivers in the NFL at this point in time. And Minnesota's defense looks like it's starting to pick up the pace. This is the team now that a lot of people had envisioned at the start of the season when many thought Minnesota would be a Super Bowl contender. And they're starting to look like it right now. You look at the Saints, though. The Saints are still very good. The Saints are right there. The Saints only have 1 loss this season, and they went into Baltimore last week and played, like I stated, about the defense being ravenous for Baltimore. Baltimore is one of the better defenses, and they went in on the road and defeated the Ravens. It's certainly conceivable they could get this job done against Minnesota. But I think right now the fact that Minnesota is just clicking on all cylinders at this point in time, you look at the New Orleans Saints, their pass defense is suspect. They're giving up about 294 passing yards per game, but the team is averaging 34 points per game, and they also won 5 consecutive games. They have, you just look at this team. They are a team right now, that the Saints, that they're on a rampage. They're playing exceptionally well. But I think right now, Minnesota, even though it's 3 straight compared to New Orleans, 5 straight, Minnesota may be playing the better as far as the complete game right now, as far as their offense and defense, and the defense is clicking at the right time. I do like Minnesota to win this one at home. Now, last but not least, you look at this game, Monday night game. I want to take New England on the road to beat the Buffalo Bills. New England right now they're playing basically what most people anticipated very well. Defense looks a little bit suspect. However, they have won. They've dominated the series in recent time against the Bills. They have won 5 of 6 against them. They have won 4 consecutive straight games, and their Patriots are averaging about 39 points per game in that 4-game winning streak. They've also won 6 consecutive games at Buffalo. Buffalo right now, the offense is putrid. That'd be a vast understatement. They're averaging under 12 points per game. Buffalo, as a team, they only have, as far as pass completions go, only 106. The one thing about Buffalo that's going a little bit under the radar, though, they do have a fairly good pass defense. They're allowing just 210 passing yards per game, about 210 passing yards per game, which is 4th in the NFL. Now, quarterback Derek Anderson is going to play in this particular game. Josh Allen looks like he's going to be out. They're going to likely put Derek Anderson in this one. And the one thing that Buffalo has in their favor in this one, they do have, is the fact it's a divisional game. They will be at home in this one. New England on the road this season, what they've accomplished, they lost 2 games on the road. They beat Chicago in the last one, but that was just by 7 points. That game could have gone either way. Chicago, they threw that Hail Mary, and the Chicago receiver, he got it, but it was like at the 1-yard line of New England. He just didn't have it in the right position. So, that game could have gone either way. So that, if anything, that could give Buffalo a little confidence, given that New England has not looked superlative on the road this season. It is a Monday night game. That being said, New England is just, their offense is just playing too well right now, and Buffalo just can't score at this point. They're just not going to be able to. I just don't feel they have the offensive firepower to match the Patriots. So I am going to take the Patriots to win this one on the road. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube NFL predictions segment for my picks and analysis for Week 8 of the 2018 NFL season. And until next time, people, Edwin Leonard saying, stay well.